My grandmother, Eleanor, believes in the inherent order of things. She believes that mail is delivered at 11:15 a.m., that the best mysteries are solved by page 200, and that love, once given, is a permanent fixture, as reliable as the North Star. To hear more harrowing accounts and learn how to safeguard your own family from predators like these, subscribe to the Real Life Scam Cases channel. Her world is a library of well-kept certainties, and for 81 years, its shelves had never once collapsed. The phone call that brought the library down came on a Thursday morning, a day she had set aside for dusting her collection of porcelain birds. The landline, a device she trusted far more than the sleek smartphone my father had bought her, rang with a shrillness that seemed to cut through the quiet hum of her refrigerator. She put down her feather duster, wiped her hands on her apron, and answered with the same lilting, gentle greeting she'd used my entire life. "Hello, dear." The response was not gentle. It was a raw, terrified sob, a sound so full of pain it made the porcelain birds on her mantelpiece seem to vibrate with sympathetic fear, and the sob belonged, impossibly, to me, Grandma. The voice was choked, wet, and thin, like a frayed wire carrying a desperate current. "Grandma, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Sarah, my goodness, darling, what is it? What's happened?" Eleanor's hand flew to her chest, her knuckles pressing against the delicate floral pattern of her blouse. "My name is Sarah." I was, at that exact moment, sitting in a fluorescent-lit conference room 30 miles away, staring at a spreadsheet and nursing a lukewarm coffee. I was safe. I was bored, but the version of me on the phone was in a living hell. "There was an accident, Grandma," the fake me wailed. "A car accident. It was bad. I ran a red light. I was looking at my phone. I wasn't paying attention. I hit someone. Oh God, Grandma, I hit someone." Every word was a perfectly calibrated dart, aimed at the softest parts of my grandmother's heart. The confession of a common, relatable mistake, looking at a phone. The immediate expression of guilt and remorse. The vague but terrifying outcome: I hit someone. "Are you hurt, Sarah?" Eleanor's voice was trembling, her mind already flooding with images of twisted metal and shattered glass. "Where are you? Do I need to call your father?" "No." The shriek was sharp, commanding. "Don't call Dad. Please, Grandma, you can't. I'm in so much trouble." A new voice cut in then, a man's voice. It was deep, calm, and radiated an immediate, if unearned, authority. "Ma'am, my name is Officer Daniels. I'm with your granddaughter now. She's okay, just shaken up. But the situation is complicated." The shift was a masterstroke of psychological manipulation. The hysterical child is replaced by the calm professional. It's a tactic designed to pivot the victim's brain from panic to problem-solving mode, making them feel like they are now part of the solution, not just a passive recipient of bad news. "Officer, is she really all right? The person she hit, are they?" Loner couldn't finish the sentence. "The other driver is being treated for a broken arm and a concussion. But she's stable," Officer Daniels said, his tone grave. "The problem, ma'am, is that the other driver is pregnant, and your granddaughter admitted to being on her phone. Under state law, that makes this a felony charge of reckless endangerment. She's been arrested." Arrested. The word landed like a cinder block in the quiet, orderly world of my grandmother's living room. Her granddaughter, her Sarah, the little girl she had taught to read, was a felon. "But it was an accident," she stammered, clinging to the word as if it were a life raft. "I understand that, ma'am. And so does her public defender. He's here with me now, and he believes he can get this resolved quietly and quickly. But we have to follow procedure. He's going to speak with you. His name is Mr. Miller." Another handoff. Another layer of legitimacy. From crying child to police officer to public defender. It was a 3-act play of terror, and my grandmother was the captive audience. The new voice, Mr. Miller, was smooth as silk and twice as slippery. He sounded tired but competent, like a man who had seen it all and knew his way around a broken system. "Mrs. Peterson," he began, using her last name for the first time, a subtle trick to establish a formal, professional relationship. "I'm David Miller. I've been assigned to Sarah's case. I need you to listen to me very carefully. Your granddaughter is in a great deal of trouble, but there is a window of opportunity here. The other party, the pregnant woman, has not yet pressed formal charges. Her husband is a very influential man in this city, and if this goes public, he will ensure the prosecutor throws the book at Sarah. We're talking about serious jail time." He let that sink in. The threat wasn't just a legal one. It was personal, political. It was a powerful, unseen enemy against whom my grandmother was now pitted. "What can we do?" she whispered. "That's where you come in," Miller said, his voice dropping into a confidential, conspiratorial tone. "I've spoken with the district attorney's office. They are willing to keep this out of the formal court system and treat it as a civil settlement, but only if we can show immediate good faith. This means covering the other driver's initial medical expenses and posting a bond to ensure Sarah appears at a private hearing. This is an unofficial arrangement, a way to make this all go away, but it comes with a very strict condition." He paused for dramatic effect. My grandmother held her breath. "You cannot tell anyone about this. Not her father, not her mother, not a soul. If word of this gets out, the DA will deny this arrangement ever existed, and the deal is off the table. The husband will press charges, and Sarah's life will be ruined. Do you understand me, Eleanor? This is a gag order. Her future is in your hands, and your hands alone. The gag order, the cornerstone of the entire scam. It isolates the victim, turning them into a secret agent on a heroic mission. It preys on their deepest instinct, the desire to protect their family." My grandmother, a woman who had spent her life lending books, was now being entrusted with the most important secret she had ever kept. She was no longer just a grandmother. She was a savior. "I understand," she said, her voice filled with a new, steely resolve. "What do I need to do?" "The total amount for the bond and the medical settlement is $8,200, Miller said. The number was specific, official settling, not a round number like 10,000, but a calculated figure that suggested paperwork and legal fees. It was a sum designed to be shocking, but, for a retired homeowner, likely accessible. "Okay," she said, her mind already calculating. She had that in her savings. "Now, because of the sensitive, off-the-books nature of this agreement, we cannot use traditional methods like a bank transfer or a check. That creates a paper trail," Miller explained patiently, as if talking to a slightly slow but well-meaning colleague. "The court uses a digital voucher system for these kinds of settlements. It's the fastest and most secure way to transfer the funds without flagging the transaction. You will need to go to a pharmacy or a large retail store, like a CVS or a Target. You will purchase gift cards, even to my grandmother, who used cash for nearly everything." This must have sounded strange. A flicker of doubt, tiny as a moth's wing, may have brushed against her consciousness. Miller was ready for it. "I know it sounds unusual, Eleanor," he said, using her first name again to re-establish their conspiratorial bond. "It's a new system the county is using to streamline these payments. Think of them as legal vouchers. Once you have the cards, you will call me back on my direct line. I will stay on the phone with you as you read the numbers on the back of each card to the court clerk, who will be conferenced in. The funds will be transferred instantly. The settlement will be logged, and Sarah will be released into my custody. Within the hour, I will drive her home myself." He had an answer for everything. The strangeness of the method was explained away as modern bureaucracy. The promise of a swift resolution and Sarah's safe return was the bait that made the strange hook seem palatable. "I'm going to stay on the line with you now," Miller said, his voice a steady, reassuring hum. "Just put the phone in your purse or pocket. I'll be here with you the whole time, to guide you and make sure nothing goes wrong. Let's get this done, Eleanor. Let's bring Sarah home." And so, my grandmother, a woman whose most stressful errand was finding an overripe avocado at the grocery store, grabbed her purse and her car keys. With the voice of a phantom lawyer murmuring in her ear, she walked out of her quiet, orderly home and into the chaotic, hostile world of his design. Her first stop was her bank. Miller had instructed her that if the teller asked questions about the large cash withdrawal, she was to say it was for emergency roof repairs. "Be firm, but pleasant," he'd coached. "Don't offer any more information than you have to." The teller, a young man who helped her balance her checkbook every month, did raise an eyebrow at the $8,200 cash withdrawal. "Everything all right, Mrs. Peterson?" he'd asked. "Just fine, thank you," she'd replied, her heart pounding. "A leak in the roof. You know how these old houses are." She sounded more convincing than she felt. He shrugged and counted out the money, bundling it into an envelope that felt impossibly thick and heavy in her hands. Her next stop was a CVS pharmacy a few miles away. The automatic doors hissed open, revealing a world of bright lights, beeping, scanners, and overwhelming choices. Miller's voice was a constant presence from her purse. Okay, Eleanor, you're looking for the gift card rack. It's usually near the checkout counters. We need Google Play cards or Apple cards. They're the easiest for the courts system to process. Get 16 cards and put $500 on each. And one more for $200. That will get us to the total. She found the spinning rack. A kaleidoscope of brands and logos. It felt absurd. She was standing in a pharmacy, surrounded by greeting cards and candy, on a mission to save her granddaughter from jail by purchasing vouchers for video games and music. The disconnect was jarring, but the urgency in Miller's voice and the memory of the fake Sarah's sobs overrode her confusion. She carried the stack of plastic cards to the checkout. The cashier, a teenage girl with bored eyes and purple hair, looked at the pile of cards, then at the elderly woman with a thick envelope of cash. Whoa, the girl said. Big party. It's for my grandchildren, Eleanor stammered, the lie feeling clumsy in her mouth. You know, we have a policy, the cashier said, her boredom replaced by a flicker of corporate responsibility. We're supposed to warn people about scams. People will call and say you've won a prize or you owe the IRS and you have to pay with gift cards. Is that what's happening? This was it, the moment of rescue. The one person standing between my grandmother and financial ruin. From her purse, Miller's voice was a faint, urgent whisper. Tell her it's none of her business. Tell her you're buying them for your family. Be firm, Eleanor. Don't let her stop you. My grandmother drew herself up to her full height of 5'3". Young lady, she said, her voice colder than the cashier would have thought possible. I have been managing my own finances for 65 years. I am buying presents for my family. Now, will you please ring me up? The cashier's face fell. She'd tried. She shrugged and began scanning the cards, her movements slow and deliberate. One by one, the cards were activated. One by one, my grandmother's savings, her security, her peace of mind, were converted into worthless plastic. The final part of the ritual was the most degrading. Miller instructed her to go back to her car and, one by one, scratch off the silver security strips on the back of the 17 cards. Her hands shook as she used a key to scrape away the coating, revealing the long string of numbers beneath. Okay, Eleanor, Miller's voice said, now back on the main line. I have the court clerk on the line with me. I need you to read each number to her, slowly and clearly. For the next 20 minutes, my grandmother sat in her car in the CVS parking lot and read strings of digits into her phone. With each number she read aloud, a piece of her life's savings vanished into the ether, transferred to an anonymous digital wallet controlled by criminals. When the last number was read, there was a pause. The transaction is complete, Eleanor, Mr. Miller said, his voice warm with counterfeit praise. The funds have been received. The DA is signing the release order as we speak. I'm on my way to the precinct to pick up Sarah now. She should be home in an hour or two. You did it. You saved her. You're a hero. And then he hung up. The silence in the car was absolute. The adrenaline that had coursed through her for the past 3 hours evaporated, leaving behind a profound, bone-deep exhaustion. She drove home in a daze, the empty gift card wrappers littering her passenger seat like confetti after a funeral. She sat in her armchair, the one by the phone, and she waited. An hour passed, then another. The sun began to set, casting long shadows across her living room. The porcelain birds seemed to mock her with their silent, unblinking stares. There was no knock on the door. The phone didn't ring. At 6:30 p.m., my phone buzzed. It was my regular, scheduled Thursday call to her. Hi, Grandma, how was your day? I asked, cheerfully. There was a long, heavy silence on the other end of the line. I could hear her breathing, a ragged, hitching sound. Grandma, are you there? Sarah, she finally whispered. The single word was freighted with a universe of confusion and dawning horror. Yeah, it's me, I said, my own cheerfulness evaporating. Is everything okay? You sound off. Where are you, Sarah? I'm at home. I just finished dinner. Why? I heard a sharp intake of breath, followed by a low, wounded sound, like an animal in pain. But the accident, she said, her voice cracking. The jail. Mr. Miller, he said he was bringing you home. My blood ran cold. What accident, Grandma? What are you talking about? And then the story came tumbling out. A torrent of terror and confusion, the crying, the officer, the gag order, the bank, the CVS, the 17 gift cards. As she spoke, the well-kept library of her world, with its neat shelves and ordered certainties, didn't just collapse. It was burned to the ground. When she finished, the only sound was her weeping. It was not the theatrical sobbing of the scammer on the phone. It was the real, soul-crushing sound of heartbreak and humiliation. "They took it all," she cried. "They took everything. The money was gone, of course. We filed a police report, but the officer confirmed it was untraceable. We called the gift card companies, but the funds had been drained from the cards within minutes of her reading the numbers aloud. The $8,200, a sum that represented years of careful saving, had vanished. But the money was the smallest part of the theft. The real crime was what they took from her spirit. They stole her trust, not just in the sound of a voice on the phone, but in her own judgment. They weaponized her love, turning the purest impulse in her heart into the tool of her own violation. For weeks, she wouldn't answer the phone. She looked at her friends and neighbors with a new, painful suspicion. Every act of kindness seemed to carry the potential for a hidden threat. The scammers had installed a firewall of fear around her heart. It has been a slow and painful process of rebuilding. We, her family, have become her security system, reminding her that she is not stupid, that she was targeted because she is a loving, caring person. We remind her that the flaw was not in her heart, but in the cruelty of a world that contains people willing to exploit it. Her story is a warning. These predators are not clumsy amateurs. They are sophisticated psychological manipulators. They know which buttons to press. They know that for a grandparent like Eleanor, the sound of a beloved grandchild in trouble is a key that can unlock any vault. Tell your loved ones this story. Give them a plan, a code word, a promise that they will hang up and call you back on a known number before ever acting on a frantic, frightening call. The library of my grandmother's world will never be the same. Many of the books are gone forever, and the lingering smell of smoke may never fade. Please, help us prevent this from happening to another family by subscribing to the Real Life Scam Cases channel to spread awareness, and let us know in the comments where you are watching from around the world. But we are rebuilding the shelves, one day at a time, reinforcing them with the one thing the scammers could never touch, our real, unbreakable love.